Hi everybody, welcome back to Reissued. My name is Andrew. I am super excited about this week's project, partly because I think it's one of the coolest things that I've ever made, but also because it took me forever and now it's finished. I've been wanting a leather jumpsuit for a really long time and now I finally have one. So if you want to make a jumpsuit as well, or if you just want to watch this epic journey unfold, just keep on watching. I started with 2 leather coats from my thrift store. This long, creepy stalker trench coat for $44, and this shorter but not sexier zip-up coat for $7. At a combined $51, it's a bit more than I usually spend for a humble thrift flip. But compared to my inspiration jumpsuit by Jonny Cota, I'd say we're doing okay. Let the demolition begin. Goodbye, dear coats. Together you will become a beautiful Franken jumpsuit. Not quite. God, seam ripping is so boring. I think I have a plan, so to the drawing board. So this is admittedly a bit of an odd setup at this point. Eventually this will be hanging on the wall. I've just been waiting. I want to make a better sort of wood frame to go around it. And that hasn't happened yet. So right now it's like awkwardly low and I feel like a giant. The easy thing to do for making this work would be to basically just use the top half of this jacket and then make some sort of pant situation out of this jacket. That would have been a lot easier. So what I opted to do instead, I'm gonna take this back piece here and I'm just gonna split it up the back at the seam and then take it in like so to make it fit, so that will be the back panel. The sleeves are going to stay as they are. I'm just going to take them in a little bit as well to make them a bit more fitted. This whole section right here is actually going to become the front panel. So I've split this at the shoulder seam. I'm going to cut a new armhole here, and then this will split at the side seam. And then this will be a pant leg that will come all the way up, and then we'll get the zipper here up the center. So that will be all one long panel, keeping this pocket in play. And then the back pants will be cut out of this large chunk here. So the next thing that's gonna happen is I'm gonna have to start cutting into the leather, I think. And before I do that, I wanna try to cut some pieces out of the liner to sort of use the template to see how things fit. Because once I cut the leather, it's really all over. I proceeded with my genius liner first plan by fumbling around with the liner for half a day. The good things that came out of this time were taking in the side seams to make them fit, and basting around and cutting the new armhole shapes. The bad thing that came out of this plan was using the liner as a template to cut the leather, and then realizing that it made much more sense to trace this flight suit that already had the look and fit that I wanted. But by the time I had traced the shape on some cardboard, added seam allowance, and cut it out, surprise, surprise, I had cut too much off the leather to keep the side seams lined up. However, this ended up being a good thing. If I had cut the leather where I planned all the way over at the side seams, the pockets would have been dangerously close to the crotch.
And the pockets, put your hands in the pockets, pleasure me pockets. They're
a little creepy where they are.
They're creepy.
So things were looking up. Until I decided to bring in another jumpsuit to guide me in slimming down the leg a little bit. Alright y'all, so I am in that mode right now where I'm trying to overcome the thing that happens on these kinds of projects where I just feel paralyzed by fear and so I don't do anything and it takes me forever. So I'm like, great, we're gonna press on and do stuff, and it seems like always the stuff that I choose to do has been cutting the leather and doing it wrong. This is lying on top of the template below. I just decided that slimming down the leg was a priority, and I think I ended up doing it way too high. I know my thighs are not that small, so might have to put in another panel through the crotch, kind of like a drop crotch situation. I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the other side to match this, using this side as a template, because, you know, at least they have to be the same, right? It has to be symmetrical, and then we will assess from there. I went ahead and inserted the zipper that I had removed from the shorter coat by laying the jacket flat, clipping one side right sides together down the front, and stitching it together.
After repeating this process for the other side and then sewing the front and back panels together at the shoulder seams, I was feeling back on track.
I was having a night last night where I'm like, why am I doing this and it's not gonna work out? But I just put in the zipper and I attached the back, and now I'm feeling like it's gonna be a thing. So powering on through, ready to keep working on the outer shell.
I traced the back leg panel of the flight suit the same way I did for the front panels.
So you can see here, I clearly don't have enough leather to complete the pattern piece the way that I think it should be completed. So I think I'm just gonna cut as much as I can and try it on and see how it is, and then install a gusset if necessary.
I took in the back panel, sewed the back center and front center seams for the pants, stitched the top and bottom of the back together, and clipped the upper leg seams in place to assess the crotch. Unsurprisingly, the absence of fabric in the crotch was felt. Time to improvise. I did a little research and traced out a gusset shape on a scrap piece of leather. I decided to go for it by stitching it into the front of the pants. Then I pinned it to the back to try it on. So far, so good. After sewing the gusset to the back, it was perfect. The crotch restored my faith in the world and in this project. Celebrate with me by hitting the subscribe button. I rode this crotch high by adding length to the front leg panels by cutting a chunk out of the back of the creeper coat. Then I sewed the inner leg seams closed. I asked over on Instagram whether I should add the chest pockets from the shorter coat. Most people said yes, and I agree that this was the right call. But this was the most excruciatingly frustrating process ever. Turning the leather under while being unable to pin or clip it, while trying to make both sides symmetrical, while dealing with the leather stretching, meant sewing and ripping out and resewing multiple times. Let me spare you the gory details by fast forwarding. I could now sew the outer seams from the armhole all the way down to the hem. And after taking in the sleeves and reshaping the armholes a little, I could sew the sleeves into the armholes. Looking good. After another Instagram poll, I decided to add a waistband that would allow the waist to be cinched a little. If you want to weigh in on future projects, follow me over on Instagram. Using part of the belt and the 2 shoulder epaulets from the creeper coat, along with 2 pieces of Velcro that I saved from a thrifted messenger bag, I assembled the belt to function very similarly to one on the flight suit. It can be Velcroed further in for a tighter fit or further out for a looser fit. The collar was created by taking two of these sleeve belts from the creeper coat and joining them together at the center back seam. I begrudgingly returned to Linerland and completed the liner by taking in the sleeves and the center back the same way I did on the outer shell. I inserted the sleeves into the armholes to complete the liner assembly. I opted not to line the legs of the jumpsuit because it seemed to function fine without, and honestly I just couldn't handle another crotch fiasco. The liner could now be sewn in along the front zipper and understitched to hold it down. After a lot of research on bagging a liner, I wrestled with my Franken jumpsuit until I found the right way to clip in the sleeves. After holding my breath and sewing them, I could turn them right side out to check my work. Now I threw in a couple little seams to seal everything in, following the lines where it had been sewn before. Home stretch, people. After basting around the collar to hold the outer shell and the liner together, the plan was to sandwich the collar around this and stitch it all in one seam. This worked for the outside but didn't catch the inside at all. Finally, I evened out the hem and threw some elastic from a previous thrift flip around the bottom before rolling the hem under and stitching around one more time. Now for the fashion show. If you enjoyed this project, seriously hit that subscribe button. I upload weekly with DIY clothing, home decor, and painting videos.
See y'all next week.